Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the final session of our third annual New Mexico DELT virtual conference. I hope you guys have had a wonderful day of just learning and engaging with us. I know that we have been enjoying it so much with you. Welcome to using EdReady data to monitor and inform instruction. My name is Jamie Trujillo. I will be moderating the wonderful and brilliant Terry Gustafson, who will be presenting this session. Before we get started, please make sure to sign in. And it's actually a little bit different than what you see on your screen. It is signin.nmdelt.org. And if you've already been going to sessions, you already know how to get that done. It's the same link. Just make sure you sign in for this session. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat, and I will be happy to ask them to Terry at the end. So with that, I will turn it over to Terry.
Hi, thank you, Jamie, for such a nice introduction. This is our last session of the NMDELT third annual virtual conference, and I appreciate you joining me. I'm sure a lot of you are very tired by now, but I do want to mention that we might have some technical issues with the audio, but just like you, we are learning and finding solutions to improve ourselves every day. So, using EdReady reports to monitor student progress and inform instruction. Data, data, data. Can't make bricks without the clay. We can't do anything without the data. The data is going to help us inform instruction, to catch when somebody's struggling in time, to see how our students are doing it. And it's really important to be timely about this because you can't let it go for days because students get lost. So using EdReady is really a fun way to use, or an easy way to use the data. We have different reporting levels that are in EdReady, and three basic ones are the summary reports, the classroom level reports, and the student-specific reports. We could throw our students all the way into EdReady and let them go, but that is doing a great disservice to our students because we can't expect the computer to monitor their instructions and change the lessons as a result of that. So we need to be on top of these reports, and they make it very simple to kind of look at individual students or a classroom as a whole and figure out where this class needs extra help. One of my biggest problems is a lot of my students want to go totally online, and I haven't yet seen a person succeed going totally online, and they don't know how to ask for help, or even if they should be asking for help or that they need help. So being able to monitor these things are really important, or your student might wind up going in circles and trying to test in the same topic over and over again, thinking that one of these times they'll get lucky. So that's why I found it really important and interesting to really learn more about these EdReady reports. Here's a little refresher about EdReady and what kind of things it details, and these are the biggest things. They're scopes, goals, and study paths. So what is a scope? Scope is basically the content or the skills that a student needs to master at that particular level. They're the things that they need for that NRS level or for that HSE level. Goal. The goal is how a student can access the content, or how do they access those skills. And we have the study path, and this is the wonderful thing about EdReady is that it creates a study path. It starts them with a diagnostic, and they create a study path that fills in the gaps or the things that they're not understanding. So it's very important not to help your student during the diagnostic process, or for them to be on their calculators or getting help from a partner, because it will not give them the right kind of study path then. They'll skip the things they really should have studied. A study path can be also interchangeable with scope. So the first report I mentioned was summary reports. And underneath this heading, we have the study paths with activity, the overview, and the enrollment report. Now, because of FERPA, I couldn't really like go into one of my classes live. It would show too many students and their data and their names, and we can't do that for FERPA issues. Basically, summary reports are high-level reports for viewing data across multiple goals and paths. Shown here are the study paths with student activities and the overview reports. So you see these reports if you are an instructor, right when you log in your instructor account. And you can see the tab for study path with student activities. And then if you click on summary, you will see the overview report. So what is a study path with or without activity? It's useful for when you have students that are in different kind of multiple study paths if you want a really quick summary. So a lot of our students aren't necessarily in one study path, they may be in multiple study paths. The overview report allows you to see areas where the student is kind of excelling in a really quick kind of picture view. And it also shows where they're struggling. Oh, geez, remind me later of this Dell thing here. I don't know if you're seeing that, but okay, back to the overview report. I was worried about that, but okay, so this will determine their gaps in knowledge, and it's useful for lesson planning because it pinpoints exactly where they need to learn. If you see red, usually red means that they need to learn that they must be struggling. We'll look into these a little bit further in the next slide here, I believe, or we'll go back. Oh, no, actually, I wanted to mention here in the overview reports that you kind of want to look at the time spent studying versus the time that they are testing, because that's very important. The in-score distribution, which is the one at the bottom, it will show the median and initial diagnostic heights and how they are matched with the median EdReady score range. The unit breakdown, you can hover over columns for unit names, and it shows how many units were mastered. This next report, which is the enrollment report, can be quite long and detailed, as you can see here. So this one I printed out. This is an actual report. It's similar to the student data summary. It provides scores and basic information, but this report, what's special about it is that it shows the student's current testing status. So we can see here, I've highlighted some of the things that you should kind of take a look at. It can also show if a student has joined your goal, but has not completed the initial diagnostic. Maybe they joined, maybe they don't feel like testing, and it'll show how much time usually. This is an also good place to go determine where there's knowledge gaps and where a student is stuck. Each of these rows is a study path for each student, so that's why it's going to be really long. The study path status shows the status of the diagnostic. And let's see what else. So it gives you a good snapshot of what they're working on and if they've started it yet. There's 4 statuses here. Initial status, completed, in progress, and that's only 3, or other tests in progress. So see here, I have highlighted one of the students study paths, AE Math 1. They've been active. Their study path, they're working as NRS level 2. Study path they're active in. The diagnostic, they started at 40. The recent is 100, which is great. So there was a score gain of 60. So you want to look at things like that to see if there's any gain. And you want to see the time it took for them to reach it. So the second basic report is a classroom level report. And underneath our classroom level reports are student data summaries, unit detail reports, topic detail reports. This is a mouthful: topic and learning objective progress reports and learning objective progress reports. They kind of sound the same, the last two, but they're not. So for a quick glance, this is what they look like. These basically allow you to see and compare student data across a class or a group. So here we look in closely, a little bit more closely at the student data summary. This will allow you to see specific data for a specific class or group of students. So we can access this from our reports dashboard, actually, when you log in as an instructor. You'll see scores for both initial and current sessions that they've taken, and data combined and data specific to the study path. When you're trying to determine whether a student has progressed and their activity, this report is very useful. This can monitor this. These I highlighted in red what some of the things are that are crucial to look at, and that would be your login count. And this particular one stands out because it has 167 for a login count. But if you look at the scores, it's gone only from 43 to 61. So you're wondering, what are they doing with 167 login accounts? So things like that will stand out for you and will help you. It will show also the time that they spend using it, the last time they took a test, the time spent studying, and if there was a score gain. So you want to kind of compare the time spent studying with the score gain, or with the last test taken. Okay, so we're on unit and topic detail reports. These are also color-coded, as you notice, and it's a really good way to easily spot areas where students or groups of students are struggling really bad. What do these colors mean? Well, I have a little graphic here to show you. Gray will mean it's not assessed yet, or the test has not been assessed yet. Red will mean that they're not ready, which means they mastered the less than 50% of the content that's in that unit. Yellow and orange needs review. They mastered only 50 to 99% of the content, and green means that they're ready to go. So if you're looking at your class and you're seeing a lot of red in the same topic, then you know that most of the class needs a refresher in it. Now we can really kind of like take a microscope to things if we happen to go into the advanced and custom reports. These are the ones that can be also very long, and they are available as a download. They send it to your email. So if you need to download these as an instructor, it automatically has for the default your email, and you can request these and they will come to your email. So these are advanced and custom reports, which include the classroom level reports that are topic and learning objective progress report. Hope I got that mouth right. My mouth is dry and it's a mouthful. And our classroom other level report is learning objective scores report. So what's the difference between the two? Here we have our topic and learning objective progress report. This is really useful because it shows you 5 days worth of what they've been doing in the last, not 5 days, 5 weeks. So it shows what they've been doing in the last 5 weeks. So it's very detailed. Shows time using EdReady. These are each of the study paths they're in and what their goal is, the time spent studying. So what I've highlighted down here in the yellow, if you see, we have time using EdReady, 23 hours, time spent studying, 3 hours. Well, that would kind of cause a flag to go up, and you might want to sit with the student to find out exactly what they've been doing. Their initial score was 52. The most recent updated was 76, so they only had a score gain of 24. They've logged in 44 times. So it's kind of like, well, they're in there, but they're not going anywhere or learning anything. And that can happen a lot because EdReady has this great thing where it will time them out. But if they can catch it before, they can just jump from dashboard to test and spend a couple minutes not even starting it and go back to their dashboard. So you might want to look into something like that. So the first thing we have here is the number of topics mastered initially, and this goes for 5 weeks. So you get a really good shot of what they've done in the last 5 weeks. Here's the learning objective scores report. This is kind of interesting. EdReady automatically gives the student a benefit of doubt by giving them a 0.5 before they've even before they've assessed. So if an initial score underneath one of your students here, and I have them blurred out so you can't see the name, you'll see the name and the different goals. If they're starting with their initial score as a 0.5, that means they have not assessed yet. So 0.5, 0.5. If they have a 0 for their initial score, that means they assessed, but they didn't do well. So that's why it's a 0. If they've gone from 0 to 1, that shows that they've progressed. They failed it the first time, but they did fine the second time. 0, if it's gone from 0.5 to 0, that means they haven't assessed yet. So 0.5 to 0, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. 0.5 to 0 means they assessed the first time and didn't do well. They didn't meet all the skills that were needed for that. So there's different ways to look at this, but a 0.5 is what they start with in the beginning. If they have a 0 for their current score, that means they didn't do well, that they did assess, but it wasn't quite up to par. And if it's a 0.5 to 1, that means they completed and went on with something else. If you have any questions about that, let me know. So I thought this was a funny little comic to put in there before I write my name on the board. I'll need to know how you plan to use that data. Many people are kind of worried about their data. Oh, Jamie, what's that sound? Do you hear that sound?
I hear that sound.
I think I know what that sound is.
It's
If you
time.
ever watch any of the tech talks, it is usually time to cash in at this point. So I'm going down to the next one. Time to cash in. Come on, let's cash in. What if the data indicates a student is falling behind? And this is where we would have our time to cash in moment and ask ourselves, what would cash do? Now, we've been having some particular problems with our audio. We are going to give it a shot here, but if the audio isn't working, it's okay. We'll stop and we'll find out in the chat how we're doing, if we're still alive, if we still have any questions. Go ahead and put it in the chat, and we will see who's out there.
And I'll need your all's help to let me know if you can hear the audio as well.
From that awkward silence, I'm guessing you have no sound.
When you talk, you can hear Cash in the background, but when you're silent, we hear nothing.
Very strange.
Yeah.
So we're always encouraging our viewers to send us ideas, and if there's anybody who's a super IT person out there and would like to explore this problem, please let us know. So I'm going to go back and check in on our presentation. And what is weird, Jamie, is it worked when we were doing a tech talk, so.
It did work before when we were doing a tech talk, so.
So I'm going to stop there. Oh, and actually, I'm going to have to, because I can hear Cash from my end, I am going to stop because I have to stop the noise on my end.
Yeah, and we can hear it in the background when you are talking, so.
Oh, that is so strange. Okay. So how are we doing out there in the chat?
Haven't gotten any feedback yet. I know we have at least a couple of people watching, so If anybody has any questions or any feedback at this point, please feel free to put it in the chat.
Yes, and I'm going to start us off again where we left off.
Okay.
After I cash in, everybody stand up, take a breather, and stretch and do a little
Body
dance.
break, body break.
Yes, you've been sitting here a long time watching our webinars, and I'm sure you need to get out just like I do. So our next topic actually is student-specific reports. I'm just going to go on. Jamie, if that's okay. We are going to.
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry, yes.
Okay, just interrupt me if you need to. And
absolutely.
So our student-specific reports basically are reports that display detailed data for individual students. So we have underneath this a little shot of what that might look like: our student details overview, our student details resources study, our student details test taken, and our student activity report. This has got to be my favorite. This is my favorite and the one I use daily. And this one I actually sit with the student and use too, because it's important, I think, for them to see, get a better picture of what they're doing. They might not be aware of what they're doing sometimes. So the student-specific reports are very crucial for both you and your students. And why? Okay, so this is something you see from your dashboard when you log in as an instructor. You can see your overview tab, and in your overview tab, we have the last test activity, the last resource studied. You want to look at that number that I have with the big red square there, times taken. How many times have they taken a test? If they are on their first goal, and they've taken a test 39 times, that should cause a red flag to go up. Looking at their initial score, usually the target scores are going to be 90, so the current score is 90. It was 48 score game, but they took the test 39 times, so we want to compare that with what the time was that they spent learning it, actually. Thus, the study time with the test comparison. The big table on the right here shows bars, and they have different colors. So we can actually see really easily test taken is purple and time studying is blue. In this case, it's not too bad because we have a lot of time studying, for example, in geometry, and we have little tests taken. So this person would probably just need a little bit of refreshing. If it were the other way around, then we'd want to be concerned, because they're just trying to get lucky and not learn it. Now, this is going to happen if it's in the beginning and this happens. It's okay, but when they're starting to get introduced to newer things, it may become a problem if they're just trying to take a test, because they have to learn the new things. If those of you are out there that need to record the attendance, it's very important you have accurate data. Here is our student session reporting. It details what happens in the session, in a single session or a single visit to EdReady, from login to log out. And we will be comparing the session time and the time studying also here. So we can see that that first column has a session time of 49 minutes and a time studying of 14. So we might want to look into that a little further. What were they doing during the 49 minutes? And we can click on details and we can see exactly where they went step by step by step by step and what time they were there. So it's very detailed. I went here. First, I went to enter my goal. I visited my student dashboard, and I entered my goal again. I started my study path. So if you notice that there's nothing in there as far as doing any learning, you might want to sit down with the student and show them exactly what you're seeing. So here are some examples of resources studied. It will show what they've learned in the different learn section of their topics and units. And here, this is one of my favorites. It will show tests taken. So if they've had 39 tests taken, you're going to have 39 different numbers here and several pages of tests. Scrolling down to the red, because the red will catch your eye automatically, you'll see that they were not ready in whole numbers and adding whole numbers. By clicking on the details, oh, I forgot about my little graphic here, and has the fly in student details. Clicking on that details, you can see the test. You can see the questions, how many they got correct, how many they got incorrect. So I find this very useful to like sit down with a student and look at this. And most of the time I will sit down with a student to look at this because they get a kick out of it for one, and they're kind of aware of this anyways. So you're kind of catching them in a way. Sometimes we'll get stuck on one problem, and EdReady will revisit it. So we'll keep getting stuck on the same problem. And so that might be what's holding one of your students back. And if you've taken any of these as a student, I get stuck on some of those same problems. So it might be a word or the way the answers are worded. So getting them over that hump is very important so they don't get frustrated and quit on you. And it shows them that everybody makes mistakes. So here is something I clicked on, the incorrect, because they got it incorrect, and it'll show the question as it was answered incorrectly and the question how it should be answered. So that's a good teaching moment, especially if you're noticing that there's certain questions that seem to be that everybody is getting wrong. Inside these details, of course, are the time that they spent inside EdReady, and also what they did inside EdReady. I never had used the connection details before, which is the other thing you can click on, until recently. And I found it to be really important. I had a student who kept messaging me and telling me that it kept giving her alert that she was not logged out correctly. And I looked into the connections details. I realized that she had logged in on a computer under Chrome, and I could see the device was a computer, and she also had logged in under a mobile phone, but logged in into the public EdReady account, which is not the one that we give instructors for NMDELT. So in order to, I wouldn't have never figured that out unless I could see the connection details. So you can see if they're using a mobile phone, because it's different when they use a mobile phone. You can see if they're using for their browser instead of Chrome, they're using Internet Explorer. Well, some of the features don't work as well in Internet Explorer. So sometimes that can be very important to see kind of what they're using and what device they're using, because it will depend. So we have a thank you here. These are some of the ways that we can access or get an NMDELT EdReady account. If you already have an NMDELT email, you'll probably be eligible for an NMDELT EdReady account. So please let us know, and we have some links here. If you need them, you can write them down, or if you're not watching this live, you can stop the recording and note them and put them in your search bar. So were there any questions to this point, Jamie?
There were not any questions.
Okay. So we have a couple minutes. I believe, how many minutes do we have?
Looks like we have about 10, just, we don't have to do the whole 10, but we have up until 2:40. It is 2:30 right now.
I really wanted to show hands-on what this looked like when you logged into your instructor account. And if I did have a couple minutes, I'm escaping from this for now, and I'm going in, if it's still loading up, into one of my EdReady accounts where I was a student, actually, so I can use this without FERPA issues.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, everybody, I did hear back. Some people are saying no questions, but they're saying thank you. It's very useful information. So I'm sure everybody would love to see how you access those reports live.
And like I said, if it didn't time me out, just like the students, it times them out too. Okay, so the problem with this is if I log back in, we will have a glance at some of the FERPA or student things, and I don't want to have any FERPA issues or, have any um, privacy issues. So I'm not going to do that for now. We do have, if you need to request DELT support for training, please complete the form at that link. To get assistance from a team member, use that link. And to locate information. Tech Talks will be resuming. I would love for you to send me out and shout out one of those topics you need to know more about, and I will look into it and do a tech talk about it. Here are some of our resources, website. Come like us on Facebook. Come join us on Blogger. Take a pic and do an Instagram and tweet away here. So thanks for attending. We look forward to working with you in the future and learning with you. And thank you for all the support that you give me in my tech talks. And so if you have any questions, you can email me specifically at terry@nm.org. So I think that's it.
Well, thank you so much, Terry. And I did want to just mention really quickly that we do have an ELA Tech Talk coming up next Wednesday, April 17th at 12:30. It'll be the third in the spring series of ELA webinars. The title is Practice and Conclusion, Tech Strategies that Reinforce English Learning. You will be getting a flyer from me sometime early next week, so please watch out for that. And our wonderful Terry will also be conducting an AE Tech Talk sometime soon. And so once we have those details, we will get those to you as well. Thank you guys so much for spending the day with us. We really appreciate it, and we hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care.